Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. My name is Dominic, the founder and the past president of Fire and Security of India, and the founder of Forum of Critical Utility Services and the marketing arm of Fire Safe India Foundation. So since last 36 years, we've been doing many seminars in last 2 years, many webinars with one objective that life is precious. Everyone has a right to live safely. This is something we have to make it loud and clear, either through legislation, either through PAL, either to court interventions, that everybody has a right to live safely. Why major fires happening in hospitals, especially in ICUs? Today we have wonderful expertise. Mr. Deshmukh, the former director of Maharashtra, with so much experience. Mr. V. Suresh, vice president of National Building Code, and we have Dr. Lallu Joseph, who's the general secretary of CAVO, who's again, advocating the quality of life in hospital, healthcare. And we have eminent speaker on electrical safety, Mr. Gopakumar. So I don't think we can have better speakers for that on this subject. Speaker of the day, Mr. Gopakumar, to join in and touch upon the topic that we have invited a lot of participants. I would like to introduce Mr. Gopakumar, who's an electrical engineer and director of Cape Electric. He is having more than 27 years of experience in electrical safety, lighting protection, EMI and EMC of electrical installation. He has conducted more than 100 site studies on failure in electronic equipment and presented papers for more than 1,000 seminars and training programs. Member of the working group of IS and IEC, technical coordinator of lighting awareness and research center Trivandrum. He is also the member of National Building Code Part 8 and Section 2. He's also very interestingly published a book on the missing link, the subject on electrical safety. In the last webinar, we talked about this missing link, and there were many demands. How do I get this book to read? I believe a lot of people are appreciated the way it is well written about the electrical safety. And his company, Cape India, is celebrating 25 years of existence, and Cape India is more popular among electrical engineering community and its capability in various electrical engineering subject and innovation solution to the market. Over to Mr. Gopakumar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dominic. I would like to thank Deshmukh sir and Sri V. Suresh for the encouraging subjects or encouraging enthusiastic discussions. Let me share the screen to show the presentation. One moment, please. So the subject which I am going to discuss is about electrical safety. Without much introduction, let me go straight into the subject. As you are aware, I am a member in the IS National Electrical Code IS 732 and IS 3043, very three important code of practices of electrical installation. And I am also a member in TC 64 of IEC, International Electrotechnical Commission. In this TC 64, the MT40, it's a technical group which handles the electrical safety of hospitals, specifically hospitals. There are about 50 plus experts from 50 plus countries participate in this technical committee. And annually, 3-4 times, we are meeting, discussing the safety situations or problems faced by various countries, and improvements in the standards are made. So I'm also a member in TC 81 and SC 37A. These are the critical IEC committees taking care of electrical safety or safety of protecting people and property from electrocution and fire. With this background, one small slide about introducing my company. My company is Cape Electric. We are basically the first one which I have put here, electrical safety. Our business is electrical safety, taking classes, but it's all free, not chargeable. We are in this year, after COVID last 1.5 years, we have conducted at least 500 plus classes on electrical safety. Every day it's going on. For example, today afternoon we have a class for BHEL starting at 2 o'clock until 5 o'clock. We are into lightning protection, we are into plastic boxes, and we are into EMI/EMC. But electrical safety is mainly we talk into the trainings. I just show you a video which which I got from YouTube, which was one of the fire accident in one of the ICUs. First of all, as Dr. Lalu Joseph told, you look at how many kind of electrical items or electronic equipment which is handled. Now, in this particular case, once when the video begins, you can see the nurse or the person with the blue dress. She was running, trying to switch off the lights, but probably the equipment which is burning, there is no power on that particular outlet. She could not switch off the outlet probably. The first spark starts at the 16 seconds and the second spark at the 27 seconds and full blast in 40 seconds. And the equipment, you see, within a minute, the entire situation had changed. So if you try to relay upon the firefighting system in this kind of an environment, you forget it, it won't work. Basically, the electrical installation must ensure that this kind of a situation shall never come. That is the basic. And the electrical safety standards, as I said, globally, the standards made by MT40 are made in such a way that such incidents can be completely avoided, especially from electrical apparatus. But we have to follow certain rules and regulations in order to achieve that. The first one, the ignition actually depends on the product design, system designs, use of safety devices, and the type of material. Out of this, the product design, a product of its own, it shall not create a fire. Second is installation, your wiring. Your wiring shall not put so much energy into your equipment to create a fire. You have to have safety devices and you have to use materials which are not endangering or which are not creating a hazardous situation. Fire can even start from a small spark. But in case of an electrical equipment, the standards are made in such a way that ignition is unlikely to occur if the electrical power consumption is less than 15 watts, because the equipments are made, designed and tested in such a way that if the power used by the equipment is less than 15 watts, then ignition of fire, the chance of ignition of fire from that particular equipment is very much less. Now, lot of theories or a lot of scientific research studies and scientific ideas are put into making the standards, such as what is the energy, what is the duration, what is the dissipation, and so on. Based on that, a lot of the basic electrical equipment standards are made. I will explain some of the standards which is with respect to fire in an electrical apparatus. But before that, you must understand that the electrical safety cannot be achieved by installing one gadget. Because in the market, if you look, there are devices coming, smart device, IoT-based device. If you buy and put it in your line, you get rid of all the fire problems, electrical fire problems. These are absolutely not possible. So electrical safety or fire from ignition of electricity can be achieved only by proper design, proper erection, system design, use of safety devices, and type of materials. With respect to the fire, the creation of fire, there are 4 identified sources in the IEC standards or considered in the IEC standards based on several research and several actual study reports. One is the short circuit, accidental sparks, high transient peak current, and abnormal temperature rise. And each cause is attributed to the possible origins, and the possible consequences are also evaluated very well. And these consequences are converted into possible design of an electrical apparatus and finally testing of an electrical apparatus. I'm just showing you a standard 60695-110. Actually, this series of standard consists of 37 standards, which talks different kind of testing in electrical apparatus. One of the technique which is implemented is power source classification. Power source classification in the sense, you can see here a green, yellow, and a red color marking. So what it says is, see here, class 1, less than 15 watts, after 3 seconds, no ignition. In case of any arcing or in case of any energy which is dissipated outside, or in case of any fault in an equipment, the maximum amount of energy can be anything, maybe 4,000 watts, 5,000 watts, 10,000 watts. But if the energy is limited to less than 15 watts in 3 seconds, that particular ignition or fault, it is not supposed to create ignition, or it cannot ignite a fire. Similarly, class 2 is a power source with which the amount of power is limited to less than 100 watts in 5 seconds. So that, in the class 2 case, ignition may occur. It depends on the environment, how you are placing the equipment, how far the other equipment are, and what kind of flammable things you are keeping near to that. And for power source class 3 is very clear. This will create a fire if there is an ignition. So it is exceeding the limits of class 2 and class 1 and class 2. So basically, when there is a fault, we have certain time in the sense in seconds to safeguard our property. Say, for example, in the first case, we have 3 seconds. If the protective devices are operating within this particular time, of course, you will have a spark, but nothing happens. The protective device trips and there is no fire. And this is how electrical installation has to be designed. Now, with respect to equipment, the electrical equipment are designed and tested in such a way that these devices are not supposed to create a fire due to an overload or an internal short circuit. So these are very much ensured. As I said, there are several standards the product manufacturer should go through it. But the problem which we face regularly whenever we go for an analysis or for a site study, what we face is most of the products which is used, they are not complying exactly to the technical requirements of the standard. There are a lot of products available in the market which is not tested based on these particular ideas. So this is basically due to the unawareness of the equipment, the standard. So as such, if you have a good equipment tested as per the most modern IS or IEC standards, especially 6, I have shown you one of the standard, then the chance of fire from the equipment is very much less. But still, let it cause fire, absolutely not a problem. But you have the power supply which can be stopped in order to safeguard your entire installation. That is the second part. Fire from wiring. I have put 15 cases of, I will go through each and every of the case on a quick way. Please give me some time, Mr. Dominic. The first idea of electrical safety is the protective devices shall be selected and designed or installed in such a way that in case of any trouble, any overload or overcurrent or short circuit, the device is supposed to disconnect so that there is no problem in the particular installation. If the design, the first one, overload, people always say that the fire is due to overload because the hospital is designed for 10 beds or 10 operation theaters or operative equipments, and then finally 24 hours instead of 10, 15 numbers are running. As a result, overload happened and fire has happened. This is absolutely not possible because in your wiring, in case of any overload, your devices are supposed to trip. Your devices should trip so that you cannot overload. And if somebody says that overload is created because of the fire is created because of overload, that means it is not because of overload. It is because your devices didn't trip. We are having, starting from the transformer, we have circuit breakers, MCCBs, MCBs, and so many protective devices are there. Why these devices are not protecting your equipment is the first question to be asked. Of course, a properly designed, erected, and tested installation, the chance of fire is very much less with respect to overload. And you see here 1.4 times, 5 times 1 hour, the protective device, the conventional disconnection time. A lot of scientific things are coming into this particular case. Then the second part, the selection of the protective device and the wires, very critical. The coordination of the protective device and the wires shall be made in such a way that the protective device is able to protect your installation from overload and short circuit. Installation means the wiring, the protective device, the MCB, for example, is supposed to protect your wiring, not the equipment. But the same MCB shall protect in case of any shock hazard in your building. So for this one, the fire, the protective device and the disconnection times are very much coordinated. These are very well documented in the standard. With respect to wires, the wire must have a life and must have certain degree of temperature. 70 degrees centigrade is the maximum allowed time, and it is supposed to work 20 years of life. And if the current is more than 1.45 or something about 1.45 times the rated current carrying capacity of the wire, then the protective device is supposed to trip. While selecting the wire, you are supposed to go through this particular chart and select it appropriately so that the wires are not overloaded. Very important. Number 4, copper wires. As you are aware, in all the final circuits, that means from the last MCB DB up to the final equipment, we always use a copper wire. And for selecting these copper wire, we have to go through certain critical, type of installations. So we have to evaluate the type of installation, such as how we are routing the line, whether it is through a conduit or it's an open wiring. Because in a conduit, the most important is wires will create heat. Wires have certain resistance, and if the resistance is higher, heat is higher. If the heat is higher, the installation is going to be in trouble. Here, the most important point which we should think is the type of copper which is used in the wire. It is not the type of the insulation, because the wire manufacturers always say, and safe wiring is like FRLS, fire low smoke and fire retardant, and zero halogen cables are more safe. But for fire safety, more than the insulation, the first one is what is the resistance of the wire. The resistance is directly connected to fire, because if the resistance is higher, of course, the heat is more and the chance of fire is higher. So higher impedance in a wire also lead to non-disconnection of an MCB. Very important. If you use a wire which is having a higher resistance, that may lead to non-disconnection of a device. As you can see in the video, the fire has started because the MCB didn't trip within its prescribed time. If the MCB tripped, then there is no fire, only a spark, then immediately MCB tripped, then there is no fire. It's very safe. Now, if you use a wrong wire, you will be in trouble. Wires, copper wires, there are 2 types of conductors used. That means the copper conductor in the copper wire, class 2 and class 5 conductor. All the calculations in the standards are considering to use class 2 copper wire, which is having a lesser resistance in comparison to class 5 wire. Class 5 wires are supposed to be used only for the final cord outlet. If you buy a TV, the wire, the extension cord is a class 5 conductor, or probably panel board wiring, you can use a class 5 conductor. Only for short lengths, you can use class 5 conductor, not for wiring inside your building. If you use a copper conductor of class 5 in your building, you can be 100% sure that today or tomorrow you will be in trouble. Now, why I stress this point more is copper wires with class 2 conductors are not generally available in the market. If you wanted to buy a copper conductor with copper wire with class 2 copper, that means that is the one recommended in the standard. Most of the shops, it's not available. So I would recommend the participants that when after the program, probably you call your wire supplier and check what kind of wires you are using. You are supposed to use class 2 copper wire. When it comes to the disconnection time, starting from the transformer up to the final equipment, the disconnection times, maximum disconnection times are very well established in the standard. Your design as Suresh sir told, most of the electrical safety things you are supposed to take care during the design and implementation, or during design and erection, not after that, because once when you erected your installation, it is very difficult to establish. So disconnection times are very important. Another point is system earthing. Electrical systems are classified into TNC, TNCS, TNS, GT, IT, different kind of electrical, the system earthings are there. For hospital, we are supposed to follow a wiring called as TNS. TNS stands for, I'm showing a picture, you have a source, you have the OCPD stands for an MCB, for example, you have the equipment. The body of the equipment is connected back to the neutral of the source through a protective conductor. A wire is used to connect it back. This is called as a TNS system. In a hospital, we are supposed to use this kind of a network. So basically a three-phase network, it looks like this. What you should understand is the metal body of your panel board is connected back to the neutral of the source through a metallic wire sufficiently sized to handle the fault current. Then one of the another subject is fault loop impedance. If I go through the previous one, instead of a TNS network, if you use a TNC network in your building, hospital, you can be sure TNC can catch fire. You are not supposed to use a TNC in your building. Then when it comes to the seventh point, fault loop impedance. Fault loop impedance means the impedance of the circuit, which is a very critical subject, which need to be actually taken care during design. The calculations are very much explained in the standard. A lot of improvements had happened in the standard in the IS 732. A very good calculation and the method of calculations are also included. What you should do is fault loop impedance shall be calculated during design, and it should be tested during erection and commissioning, and it should be periodically tested to ensure safe disconnection, especially if you have loose contacts in your wiring. This test will show you that okay, the device is not tripping, you are in danger. You can you can replace, or you can take a rectification, or you can take some measures to solve it. So this particular test, I am very sorry to say that in last 4 years, I must have made at least about probably more than 1,500 classes, each average 2 hours. And this subject, everywhere I stress, and even today, the number of electrical engineers, those who are following these tests are quite less. So I request every engineer, those who are in the hospitals, please ensure that these tests are made, or the fault loop impedance is taken care very well. Case number 8, protective equipotential bonding. Protective equipotential bonding is, it means every metallic items in your building, such as the metal water pipe, such as metal gas pipe, such as the rebar in your building, the exposed conductive parts, such as the panel board body, the motor body, and all these things must be interconnected in such a way that during a fault, there is no spark. Say, for example, generally, it can happen that there is a fault in one equipment in location A, but there can be a parallel spark in location B. To avoid such hazards, protective equipotential bonding is mandatory in every electrical installation, and in the hospital, it's very critical. Number 9, earthing of the source. In last, during this COVID time, I have visited for the purpose of, like not an audit, but just to guide some of the hospitals. I visited a few hospitals, and we were going through this particular subject, earthing of the source. Actually, this picture, what I have shown, is from the IS standard. This picture is existing from the standard since 40 years, but even today, nobody follows this. Transformer neutral is connected to 2 separate earth pits. Body is connected to 2 separate earth pits. DG neutral separate, DG body separate, and everything is separate, connected to different earth pits or earth electrodes in soil. This is absolutely wrong. You must make a proper, earthing system by interconnecting exposed and extraneous conductive parts. If you find this kind of an installation, like two separate pits for neutral, two for body, two for lift, two for main distribution board, two for UPS, an engineer who has designed an electrical system in this fashion, he is not an electrical engineer. He can be called as a fire engineer or fire igniting engineer, because this is the reason for fire. Because if you look at the 100 hospitals, I'm sure that probably majority has got at least some of the sections are like this. So please avoid it. This is never written in the standard or regulations. This is absolutely wrong, totally wrong. People also follow a different system like a clean earth, power earth, lightning protection system earth. This is also a big mistake. These are never written and documented in any standard. People also make the third mistake. You put a separate earth electrode in soil and interconnect everything under the soil. This is also a mistake. Probably sometime this is okay for shock hazard, but for fire, of course, this will not work. So in the previous picture which I have shown, that is the right way in the case 9. I can share the presentation if you require, so that you can go through it later. One of the important safety measure which has to be taken care in a hospital is called the P conductor current. Very simple to understand. The earth wire is supposed to be a dead wire. No voltage or no current flow must be allowed in that particular wire. But because of the inherent characteristics of the electrical equipment, sometimes these equipment, there will be a leakage current flow, but the system must be designed and tested in such a way that the leakage currents are regulated or reduced less than the allowable limit. I just took one case. The maximum leakage current or the continuous current flow through the earth wire is 10 milliampere. If this current is exceeded, then you will have problem of fire, unnecessary or unwanted spark in some locations. This will create a safety hazard. So neutral and earth inside your building must be strictly separated. Never connect neutral and earth wire together. Both must be strictly separate. The minimum insulation resistance between these two must be 1 mega ohm. You must test it. The voltage between neutral and earth up to 50 volt between neutral and earth is absolutely no problem for your electronics and no problem for fire. This cannot create a shock or a hazard. I'm talking the voltage between neutral and the earth. Remember, in hospital, unearthed system called as IT system is recommended, where the neutral to earth voltage can even go to 230 volt. Accidental connection of neutral and earth inside an installation could create neutral circulating current. Neutral circulating current means the current which is supposed to go through the neutral will go through the earth wire, which will create fire, electrocution, and failure of electronics. Number 11, over voltage category or installation category. I'm just showing you some of the catalogs of some of the product. For example, an MCCB, you can see a parameter in their catalog, over voltage category, Cat 4. Multimeter, Cat 3, 1000 volt, Cat 4, 600 volt, MCB, over voltage category 3, another MCB, over voltage category 4. What does it mean is, in your electrical installation, you must select and install electrical apparatus appropriately in such a way that at the origin of installation, that means at your main switchboard, category 4 devices are used. At the distribution, category 3 devices are used. Fixed equipment and portable and fixed equipment, the final equipment connected to the installation are category 2, and category 1 devices you are not supposed to connect directly to a public low voltage supply. It can catch fire. You are supposed to have an electrical separation for category 1 device. Category 1 devices are like your sensitive electronic device. So your design must ensure that these over voltage categories are taken care very well, and you should also ensure that the surges, the transients are lesser than this particular, the actual voltages are within this particular limit. Case number 13, lightning protection. In India, we go for some kind of fancy, advanced, modern lightning protection, and people say that there is one rod which captures lightning up to 100 meters. There is one down conductor and one earthing, and all your problem goes through this particular one down conductor and one earthing. Sometimes this is called as technically the name is early streamer emission lightning protection system. People say that this is accepted as per the French standard, but be sure that the French standard is not accepting or accepted in the way which is educated in India. One rod, one down conductor, and one earthing, it could create, of course, fire, but it could create a lot of failures in your electrical system. You must ensure that the lightning protection system is as per ISIC 62305 or the National Building Code, because in National Building Code Part 8 Section 2 we have included Chapter 11, a very good the final things what you should do is very much compiled, and you can also refer the National Building Code. Then case 14, inspection. It's quite unfortunate that even though the documents, the IS standards and codes included inspection and testing in a very detailed way, the number of engineers or the number of installations which this is followed is quite less. For example, there are about 18 or 19 points to be inspected by a person for the purpose of safety, and there are about 10 different items which we are supposed to do at testing, like resistance of conductors. You see the number 6, effectiveness of automatic disconnection of supply, just to ensure that your MCBs are operating or not. MCBs are installed for the purpose of providing safety, and if it is not tripping, you are in trouble. So, but there are associated tests. We are supposed to do the test. And the last one, PAT. PAT stands for Portable Appliance Test. In Europe and America, or for example in Australia, this has been also made as a mandatory thing. There is a PAT test instrument available. If you buy some kind of an equipment, and if you wanted to connect it to your electrical wiring, because your wiring is very safe. Now the equipment connected, you must do a PAT quite frequently. Now in hospital, what I have seen is a lot of places, people are misguided by thermography. A lot of engineers think that by doing thermography, electrical safety can be achieved. This is absolutely wrong. Thermography, so far in the IS, the IEC standard which I am referring to, so far thermography is not considered as a mandatory test which can ensure safety. Of course, you will get the beautiful pictures and you can find out whether any loose contacts are there. But there are much more efficient tests already included in the standard. You must do that. Probably thermography can be done as an additional safety thing. First, you in my point 14 and 15, I have put the inspection and testing. Over and above, probably you can do the thermography, but doing only thermography can never ensure any safety in your wiring. Medical areas classified into Group 0, Group 1, and Group 2 locations. In Group 2 locations, where the patient is connected with biomedical equipment internal to his skin, or the biomedical equipments are bypassing the skin, and those who are connected to internal organs, as Dr. Lallu shown a picture, there are several equipment, those who are connected to the patient's body. So in those areas, tripping of your device is a problem. You are not supposed to disconnect your supply, because if the MCB trips, the patient will be in trouble. So for that area, you are supposed to have a medical IT system, which is ensuring non-disconnection during a fault. You don't need to trip it. There are other methods to ensure safety in this particular case. This is actually made mandatory in the standard several years back. The second subject in medical equipment or medical area, I'm not explaining all the points. I'm only putting some of the important points which I felt that are important, is supplementary equipotential bonding. You must understand that the resistance of the body or person's body is offered by the skin. In a medical location, most of the time, biomedical equipment are bypassing the skin. As a result, the resistance are quite less, and even a small shock voltage could create a problem. So in these locations, supplementary equipotential bonding means, imagine a room. You have a lot of apparatus. All the body of those apparatus must be interconnected in such a way that between the equipment, the maximum resistance is 0.2 ohm. This is very much mandatory. Unfortunately, a lot of biomedical equipment vendors will ask for a separate earth pit. They say, my equipment is very special, I need a separate earth pit. If you are connecting your biomedical equipment to a separate earth pit, this mandatory requirement cannot be fulfilled, which can create, or which is also one of the reasons for safety or compromising the safety in a medical location. The third point for medical location are additional tests in group 0 and group 1 and group 2 medical locations. Additional test. See the second one, measures to verify the supplementary equipotential bonding, touch voltage less than 25 volt and resistance of all the wires lesser than 0.2 ohm. All these tests are actually very much mandatory. So I request all of you to go through these standards or go through these points. I can share the presentation, absolutely not a problem. Then the last one, what about the Electricity Act and rules and regulations says? Electricity Act section 149 says in case of any accident in a premise, the owner of the building, such as the director, manager, secretary, or whatever, they are actually responsible. In order to ensure that the compliance with the act or the rule, the regulations are made by the Central Electricity Authority, measures relating to safety and electric supply. In regulation 12, sub-regulation 2, it says all the requirement of the Code of Practice of Bureau of Indian Standards and the National Electrical Code may be followed to make a safe installation. Basically, if we go through, I have not shown all the regulations, I just put some of the parts. If we go through the regulations and rules, Act, Electricity Act and all, it's very clear that in case of any accident, the owner of the building is liable. Now, some reasons of hospital fire safety: fire from apparatus. Please ensure that all the apparatuses which you are using are conforming to the technical or the fire requirements or fire safety requirements of your of the latest IEC standards. The latest, I would say. In this case, probably some of the Indian standards, adoption will take some time. So I would recommend to go as per the latest standard. Most of the, the international or imported items are tested, but you have to be very careful, because one of the big danger which we are facing is even the imported items. There are some products which is made specifically for India. What is specific? These tests are sometimes not carried out because the market do not demand for it. The market is demanding for a cheaper price. So cheaper price, of course, the confirmation are sometimes, in direct way, are sometimes danger. This is very, you must take care. Then all the 15 points which I have told must be taken care during the design, during erection, and during testing. You cannot compromise on these points. And in medical location, special safety requirements are there. As I said, I have put only 4 or 5, but there are several. And if your installation is satisfying these requirements, you can be sure that the chance of fire, it can be negligible. The chance of fire it can be nullified. So, and you can have a very, very safe electrical installation. By this, I would like to stop the presentation. Thank you very much. If you are interested, you can note down my email address and mobile number. As I said, the IEC TC64 MT40, I'm a member. Okay, I'm the only member from India at the moment in TC64. We have a lot of expertise in the group, a lot of documents are there. So knowledge, getting the knowledge is not an issue, but implementing the knowledge, you must take care. By this, I would like to stop and thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And we have also broadcasted your contact details and all that. I'm sure people will contact you. Sir, Deshmukh sir, to summarize, would you like to comment on his presentation, sir? Yeah.
At the outset, I can say, Mr. Gopakumar, that your presentation has been technically and otherwise quite satisfying. Yeah, these are the issues I was looking forward for. And as you and me, we all know that the Indian Electricity Act in its place is fine, but we as a citizen, we as an occupier, we as the owner of the occupancies, how much we are concerned about, how much electrical safety audit that we get it done, when we change the utilities or the occupancies from A use to B use and vice versa. And also when we have designed the building for an X factor, and when we enhance the building to X plus something, that time whether we have taken adequate precautions to see our electrical backbone infrastructure and electrical infrastructure is in line and order. So these are the points missing. It is not electricity which is the cause of the fire. That's the way I can summarize. It is we are responsible for not using the electricity in a right way and not taking the abundant precautions to see that the electrical short circuits or electrical causes of the fires can be easily averted. And your last slide, you said that you in hospital premises, if you take even the 5 steps or the 5 measures, the the cause of the electricity can be nullified.